All set.
All right, did everyone get a chance to review the minutes from December 15th?
Yes.
Any additions? Modifications? Nora, did you get a chance to see them? You weren't there, but you might have questions.
Were you talking to me?
No, Nora, Nora Tar.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Did you get a chance to look at the
Hear me now?
minutes?
I did.
And did you have any questions?
No, just I have one question about one of the grants, but I guess when we go over them, I can bring it up then.
Okay.
Okay,
The only change I would make is that Kayla Newcomb was listed as a member who's absent, and she was never sworn in. So technically, should not even be on the list.
okay.
All right, so do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Yes.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor, yay. Okay,
Yay.
on to the January 3rd minutes.
Yep.
So the only questions I would have on that one is Kayla Newcomb is also listed, and Nora Tar, who was not sworn in at that time, should not be
Right.
on the.
Right,
And then there's just a typo on motion number 10. Instead of it should be off. Anybody else have any other comments?
I do.
no,
Go ahead, Andy.
I'd like to make a comment, and I want to thank Tina for doing all this backup work that she didn't have to do, but
No, we're just looking at the minutes right now, Andy. We're
It
just
was on the-
approving the minutes.
it was on the minutes. I just want to thank you for doing that. That's all.
It was on the minutes?
One of the sets of
Okay.
minutes that you were working on the project. So I want to thank you for doing that. That's all.
Okay, I didn't know that that was in the December minutes or the January minutes, but okay, thanks, you're welcome. I think they're done. All right, so the only other thing is the date for the meeting was the 18th, but it's actually the 25th. So do we change that on the minutes or we just leave it the way it is? I don't know if Don is there still.
It's actually Debbie. I can change it.
Should we change it to the
Yep.
25th?
You
Okay,
should.
all right. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes for the January 3rd meeting?
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Great. Any public comment? No public comment?
No one's raised their hand.
Okay. So now we're on to new business. So we had two of the grants that we denied that have asked for reconsideration. One of them is Tommy Rule. He was able to get some partial funding through the senior center. So I think we should reconsider him to do the full amount to make it whole. And then the other is the chess club, who we thought wanted money because they didn't get it last year, but apparently they still want more money.
right.
Any discussion on those two denials? Should we put them back into the acceptance?
Let's put them back into acceptance.
Svet, you on for that?
Yeah, we can review them again.
Okay, Nora?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. All right, so now on to the grant money decisions. We are committed, if we take those two and put them back into the pool at their full grant request amounts, we're up to $31,532 worth of grants. But the only amount of money we have available is $27,172. So the difference is $4,360. So as we go,
I have a question as well. Nora has a question.
go ahead, Nora.
Okay, when looking at grant number, I hate to jump ahead, but grant number 7, and I guess this is just a question.
Big Ryan?
My understanding is, yeah, and my understanding is, and the other one for the preschool, the music program.
Harry Campbell? Mhm.
Yeah, we, as I understood it, and I still understand it, there is a Massachusetts guideline that we are not supposed to substitute. In other words, if the town does not provide funding through school systems, libraries, whatever, that we are not supposed to substitute and fund those items based on the fact that they just don't have the money because,
So would you also then question number 32, which is the musical at the high school?
yes,
And also there is an art teacher who is looking for
a
number
job.
8.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So I think it's just, you know, it, as far as I know, in all the years that I was involved, we weren't allowed to grant in lieu of where the town denied or withdrew funding for a particular item. And these events are supposed to be for the community as a whole, as opposed to just one, you know, I mean, obviously you can fund for the school and plays and all sorts of things, but to be very cautious about how much money we're putting into the school system in lieu of the fact that they're not being supported by the town or the state.
So would you use that
Okay.
same argument that we shouldn't be supporting programs at the senior center because that should be being supported by the town?
Yep, and generally you have to look at how much and how many people, and the general rule, it has to be open to the public. So essentially, any event, someone could walk in and participate in it. Not just a secluded, like a group of people who were only, you had to be invited to it. And my only concern is with the schools that you get involved in, you know, security issues and whatnot. But in my tenure in the past, we always funded things like Big Ryan. We always funded all of these events and provided support to them. And a couple of them, that one in particular about the one that doesn't have a job, you know, isn't getting paid to provide music classes. That just the way it's written sounds as if she's, you know, asking to be fully funded so she can provide this. It is not a thing for the general public. And no one could just come in with children. So let's say if I have a 3 or a 4-year-old, but they're not in preschool, I can't bring them to that event because it's not a public event. It's related just to the classes specifically for the students. So I think that's the kind of borderline that we just have to look at a little carefully. That's all.
Okay, those are certainly valid points. I mean, you really can't bring a preschooler to the senior center. Well, you can.
Well, you could, yeah, you can.
It's open to the
But-
public.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I remember that as being the hard and fast rule. It has to be absolutely, you know, open to the general public and accessible for all individuals regarding of any accessibility levels. And you know, our original guidelines were always related to if it was in Bridgewater first, they got funded, and then we would, you know, we'd look over the other grants, but we generally would run out of money by the time we got that. And then I know the Sheep's Pasture, the North River Trust Program. That is a program that we do not have anything similar in Bridgewater or run by Bridgewater residents. So for years, we would fund them based upon the fact that we didn't have something similar. So I'm just throwing out a little history out there.
yeah, no, that's certainly
Okay.
valid. They have been funded by
Yep.
the council for the past at least 3 years.
Yeah,
And that's one of the other criteria is that we can limit the number of years that we
Right.
finance these people.
exactly.
So the issue now, Nora, is we've
Yep.
already accepted people, so we have to give them something.
Okay,
The question is how much we give them.
okay.
But once they're off the denials, well, not in the denials, then they have to
Yep.
be granted something. And
Right.
did you write the acceptance letters or who did when you were on the committee before?
I did them before. Yeah.
You did
It-
them before.
Yeah, it was either me or Angela DiMassorius, who was on the council for a number of years.
Okay. Because I'm thinking that we can individualize the award letters saying these things that you're suggesting.
Yeah.
That this is a one-time, if that is how we feel. I mean, we as a group need to talk about what the conditions will be next year,
Right,
what the criteria will be for next year's grant cycle.
right.
But I mean, I guess our feeling, well, we'll talk about it as we go through them. Does anybody want to talk about any of those four that Nora has brought up? So first is Big Ryan, which is at the public library. Anybody can go to that.
Yep,
It is not just the schools.
right.
I have,
So that
I have-
one is, that is truly open to the public.
I do have a question about one of them when you get to it.
Okay, the next one is the art class.
That's the question I have.
Yeah, and
Can
I
you-
was initially gonna reject that one, but then as I started thinking about it, that is the sort of thing that the cultural council is for, is to fund these oddball programs that the school districts don't have the money for.
Can I interject?
Sure,
My problem with this is they apply, it's on the auspices of Bridgewater Rainham High School. They apply to Bridgewater for money, but not to Rainham.
right,
Okay?
which we would
I-
suggest that they do in future.
That's
grant
right.
requests.
That's right. But last meeting we had, somebody, I don't know who it was, it said if they can't get the total amount of money, they can't do the project.
That was me. I just assumed if they can't pay for the bus, that's
Well,
700,
that's why
they
there's a,
can't pay for the bus, then it's not gonna happen.
that's why there's a PTO, and that's why they,
They don't have a PTO at the high school.
okay, no PTA, no PTO. They
No.
can't raise funds for this. I find it there's only 20 people that benefit from this. That
I
are
think the
going
number's actually 17.
17.
Yeah,
I'm for giving them at least half, because we got to give them something, but I don't feel comfortable giving them the whole amount. I really don't, because they could have gone to Rainham and asked for money as well. but they
okay,
didn't.
so the issue with Rainham is they get $8,000 to our 22,000. So their funding is significantly lower than ours.
Okay, so even if we pay half, okay, they're looking for the total amount from Bridgewater, is what I'm getting at. There's a lot of
Yes.
organizations that only want a portion of what their total is. They're asking for the whole thing. They're also not allowing the public to take part in this.
Well, I think the art show that will be created after this program will be open to the public.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's designed to teach them the printmaking, and then they're going to have like an art show.
I thought the money was going towards school buses and arranging for some.
Learning how to do this technique. And then there's an art show.
Yeah.
So it's multifaceted.
The fact that they didn't even ask them for $100 is, we have deep pockets here, and I just don't want to be taking advantage of it, especially
Right.
from a government agency who has funding, who is at least 75%. And I owe this, I say this because we owe it to the taxpayers of Bridgewater. If they want funding for this, they should put it in. And if they need extra money because of it, that's fine, but they're looking for us to fund the whole program. That's all.
Any other discussion on that particular grant? Svet or Nora?
I would agree with Andrew.
Svet?
And I agree with Andy too.
Okay, so what are you now thinking in terms of funding? Just like $50 just to send them a message?
No. No problem. What I feel is maybe half, and if they can raise the rest of the money or go to another way of raising the funds for us, at least they have something. I
Okay.
don't leave them empty-handed. It's just, I don't want to be Mr. Scrooge. But I don't want to be taken advantage of. And I think we're being taken advantage of because all of a sudden we've got all this money. But we've got a heck of a lot of people to go through that we gave okays to. I count 18 people.
Yes, there are
18
18 grants
plus
that
two.
we are now approving. All right, are there any other, the Carrie Campbell one is the preschool.
Mhm.
Yes,
I mean, my understanding with Carrie is if we only give her $1,000, she'll only do $1,000's worth of music lessons at preschool.
She had said in her, and I read every one of these twice, in her application that she would approach Rainham for money and have parents help raise funds if she can't make it. Another one that we should just at least give half to,
Okay, Any discussion on the Carrie Campbell one, number 10? No more discussion?
Nope.
Okay, and then down to the High School Musical.
Again,
believe-
you know,
I
I
believe
think
they did ask Rainham for money, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure
it's,
how
it's,
much.
it's a funding. I've got number 13 as Rainham Players. I don't know.
No, that's Music Alley. 13 is Music Alley.
Okay, because I'm going by what it says on the,
32 is the musical.
oh, I see what we're doing. Okay, I just numbered them 1 to 18, just put them in.
Yeah, no, I'm going through the original
Yeah,
grant request,
okay, I
so
see
people
what
could
you're
look them
saying,
up if they wanted to.
They're looking for 2,500. Again, give them at least half. You know, they're
Okay.
a municipal organization, you know, and they're gonna be.
All right,
charging
so everyone
at the door.
agrees? Any other discussions, Vet or Nora, on the funding of the High School Musical?
Will we be going to these to decide, like, go through the list of the ones?
Yes,
that
we make
have-
decisions today
we'll-
about
we'll
how much money
approve
we're
or-
going to give
okay.
them.
All right, I'll withhold until then.
Well, no, because we're gonna
Okay.
start at the top, and when the money runs out,
Okay. All
this is
right,
the
well,
time to talk about
I'm gonna
negotiating.
vote not to give them anything, but that's just,
You have to give them something, because we've already kept them on the acceptance list.
okay, then I'll abstain from that one.
Okay, and then the last one I had a question on was the dancer.
Mhm.
I want to be very clear about where she's performing.
Where's she performing?
Number 42, she did not give any specifics. I mean, we've heard she's wonderful,
Yeah,
but
and
I
in
mean,
the
there
past,
is
we gave her 1,000 last year in the past.
1,070. I don't know where they came up with that
Yeah.
number, but
It's rather vague, and I went on to YouTube to find her, and I can't seem to find her anywhere. I don't, you know, again, you know, we gave her.
Rebecca is on here. Rebecca was the one who liked her. Rebecca, you're welcome to speak in if you'd like.
Hi, I think you're talking about Sheffy.
Yes,
Yes,
And I believe after the meeting, I sent links to, I don't know that she's on YouTube, but she definitely has a website. I could find it, but if you have the spelling, I have my computer open, but if you have the spelling of her last name, which is unusual, that would make it much quicker for me to be able to find her.
TOKOU.
TOKOU.
Yeah. And she performed last year, but somebody had said, did you say you saw her in the park or something?
She was at
Yeah.
Stanley
Yes,
Park.
her website is Simdaka. Yes, I participated in it at the park, and I don't
Right.
know if anybody here did, but several people from BCCR, I'm going to put the website in the chat in a second.
Was she
Also participated, sorry, just wanted to finish, also participated at the library.
Okay. Did she do something at Juneteenth last year?
No, we didn't know about her at that point. We have actually invited her, haven't heard back yet. I guess this can only go to Deborah Ward. Deborah, maybe you can share it with others. I'm putting it in the chat right now, the website.
Sure, I'll send it to him by email.
Thank you. So any other questions? Because I'll turn my audio off if you have no more questions.
I think when we do our roundup at the end, everyone is supposed to fill out a form to tell us where they performed. I'm going to also suggest that they give us reviews from the people who attended or whoever was in charge of the program, so we know what actually happened and it was well received and the number of people who attended and all of that. I think that'll help make decisions in the future if we know it is something that is, you know, widely used or taken advantage of. All right, any other discussions about the grants that we have approved? Rebecca, are you part of Juneteenth?
Yes, I'm one of the co-chairs. Janice Candle Means and I are co-chairs.
Okay, so there is a separate grant that the Mass Cultural Council does that are specifically for festivals. And they give you $2,500. And Hanoko said you guys have actually received that in the past.
Not
But
that
did
I'm
you
aware of.
not-
Juneteenth has not.
Okay, well, that's what
never-
I'm going to suggest you guys do in the future, is apply for
Okay.
that, because there aren't very many people in our grant list that qualify.
We
But
have,
that would be a good group to get that funding from the Mass Cultural Council. So it's a
Okay.
separate thing under, it's called festivities or festivals or something like that.
Okay,
I think that would be a real good place for you guys to look for funding.
we have another
All right.
person, we have another person on that was part of Juneteenth last year and the year before, David Wilson. He might be able to answer that question. David, do you know anything about that grant that Tina had mentioned?
You need to unmute, David.
Unmute, Dave.
I am not familiar with that grant.
Okay,
There are new
Yeah, if
grants
you go to
listed
the
this
MCC
year.
website, you'll see there's various places you can apply that are different, like you can do internships if you're an art person or whatever. And one of them is for specifically for festivals. So I highly recommend you guys look into that this summer.
David's not on the Juneteenth committee anymore, and I thank
Gotcha.
him for confirming that we were not familiar with it. And thank you, Tina, for that advice. Thank you.
Sure.
I
Alrighty.
can- This is Nora, and I can just let you know that I run the 4th of July, the Arts and Music Festival every year. And I had the festival's grant from them probably about 5 or 6 years ago. It's really a straightforward, a 2-page form. You submit it, and they're very lovely to deal with over there at the Cultural Council. They're very speedy about getting the funding to you. And they have very little restrictions. They've really expanded it to twice a year, actually. So if you want to run a second event.
Or we could
So,
have Juneteenth do one
yeah,
and July
yeah.
4th do the other.
So it's absolutely, it takes the pressure off the local cultural council and puts it more on, just a federal, this is more, I'm sorry, state money granted rather than town. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
And Nora, is it your understanding that more than one town group can apply and get funding?
Oh, absolutely. Anyone that runs a festival.
So it's
type
more,
of
it
an
can be
event.
more than 2 or 3?
Oh,
if
as
they're
many,
at
yeah.
the festivals?
It's not related just specifically, it's specifically event-based, so.
Okay, all right. We'll have to make that suggestion to each of the award letter recipients. so that
Yeah,
they
and
have
it's
at the future.
probably not a bad thing for us as the Cultural Council to somehow do some outreach and push that out to people so they're aware of
Right.
it. In addition to us, you can.
Do you
see
know what the
funding.
timing is on acceptance of those? Because,
I know the deadline's already passed for my.
oh, I
event
know
this
that, but I'm
year,
saying
yeah,
if they apply for that, should they
Yep.
also apply for local cultural council money?
absolutely, absolutely.
They should apply
sure.
for both.
Why not?
Will
Yeah,
we
why
know
not?
if they get the MCC money before we
Um,
meet?
Well, it shouldn't actually be, if you're going strictly awarding grants on the guidelines that we currently have, it shouldn't matter what other funding they receive because the money from the Mass Cultural Council is separate from the local councils. And in order to, the whole purpose of that is to stretch out and encourage people to do more on a local basis. Without having to be, restricted by smaller dollar amounts.
Right, so my
you know.
question would be, like, if
Yeah.
Juneteenth next year decides they want to apply for the Mass Cultural Council Festival money,
Right.
how much do they ask us for?
They can ask for whatever they feel they need in order to put on a beneficial event for the community. I mean, the whole
But they
point
won't
is
know if
to,
they've gotten either of them.
nope, so you just have to put, I put out my budget every year and I make my event happen no matter what, with or without funding. So if I have to seek private sources, I do that. It runs every year. And once in a while, it's nice to have a grant to relieve a little pressure there. But, the event being had is most important and the funding is almost secondary. So the Cultural Council is granted money to be able to award. And of course, I'm the one that put together the last guidelines for the council, unless they've been changed. And it was Bridgewater first. If it's held in Bridgewater, we should fund it first. and
Right, it still is,
wholeheartedly.
but there's
Yeah.
nothing about what you had mentioned earlier, and maybe
Yeah.
we need to add that if it's important to you.
Well, it's in
We
the-
don't
it's
fund,
actu-
we don't
Yeah.
fund schools and libraries and senior centers that should be getting their own funding.
Yeah, what that is that's a substitution criteria which is on page 7 of the Massachusetts guidelines for the management of the local councils. So it used to be pretty clear, and I was kind of frankly surprised when I didn't see it in the current local guidelines. So I went to look, and it's still in the state guidelines. So it's on page 7 of the Massachusetts guidelines for how local councils are supposed to be managed and run. And it's, you're not supposed to, in other words, like the example of a school teacher, you know, they have an art program and they cut the art program. And we wanted very much in a number of years to be able to fund the art programs. We were told we could not because it was a substitution for what the state and the town was supposed to pay for. So it's still in there. I didn't see it in the local, you know, the newest printout of the local guidelines. So I don't know if we need to double check that with the Mass Cultural Council.
I'm wondering if that was put in place back when they were so serious, the budget cuts and employees were being laid
Right.
off. I mean, none of
Right.
these are replacing, like, we're not replacing the art teacher. We're not replacing the musical director.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah, so
Go ahead,
I
Andy.
think that might be one thing to check.
Go ahead, Andy.
I think Nora has a good point. The way I'm looking at it as well is Hannako never led us down that road. She knew what we had for applicants. My problem I have is, okay, the school is one thing, but the senior centers and the libraries, everybody is able to go to these shows or whatever the big Ryan shows. I don't have a problem with that. do have a problem when it only encompasses 20 people and you're locked out. You can't go to, you know, take my child goes to a private school, can't go to BR and do the print. You know, it just doesn't happen. You might be able to go to an art show, but you can't take advantage of it. So that's the problem I have with it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in the future, we can say the result of your program, like this printmaking workshop that the high school teacher wants to do with her 17 students. We need to be sure that there is a public access to the results of that. Or we tell Carrie Campbell, you need to do a little mini concert with your preschool children who took advantage of your music lessons, or something to encourage the rest of the community to be involved after the fact. I don't know. I don't know if that's important or not.
Yeah, I think again, I think the whole point is that it's supposed to be a fully open environment so that any individual would be able to participate in anything that this cultural council funds. And if they can't, if someone is not invited, included, or excluded, then that means they can't have the funding for it. So if you put
Right,
up a
so-
door and say, you know, if you go to private school, sorry, you're out of luck. No, it can't be like that. So it has to be completely open. And so I think events need to be put up that way, that it's completely 100% open and that there is opportunity. So again, we'll use Carrie Campbell. How about not just for doing a concert, because that doesn't give the same benefit to someone of the preschool age. So she could do that and do something maybe on a weekend at the library where others could participate. So any preschooler that's not going to preschool could go to this event and still get the benefit. In that case, then it becomes a whole different story.
So then
But
we
it-
should encourage Carrie in her
Yeah.
future grant requests to
Right.
have more than one venue.
Yeah, and just say that this way.
And she
you can
does
have
typically
people.
do it at the library, but
Yeah.
I think the issue is the library isn't as open and receptive to programs as they once were.
Yeah,
Anyway, I would like to bring up grant number 20. This brings
Okay.
up a big question for me now.
mhm,
This is the tech guy.
mhm.
He wants $3,000. He doesn't say where he's gonna do this. There's a lot of open questions about the tech guy. Are we gonna
Okay.
fully fund him?
Can I ask why he was not denied? That's my question.
The reason he wasn't denied was the belief was that he provides the sound systems for Juneteenth, July 4th, any event that's happening, Music Alley. But there's still some concerns about, is he really the one who's doing the music for these people or not? I think we had, go ahead, Andrew.
We're paying him to do Music Alley every week from
Okay.
June through September. He also does the music at the Fall Festival.
Mm-hmm.
He also does the music at the Veterans fundraiser at the Black Hat that the whole town is invited to. He has done Juneteenth in the past. Apparently this year they've got somebody else. He did 1 year, but he had said, because I spoke to him, and he said he's open to volunteer his time to get his expertise out there to do free, to take the money and account for it and do free shows for, like even the 4th of July group. If they want him to come in for 5 hours or 4 hours in the afternoon or whatever, he'll do that in lieu of getting paid. And that's what he wrote down in the, he wrote down his submission. So
So to me, I hate to keep mouthing off here, but I will. I'm not shy. In this case, I would have rather seen not Jason put his own request for funding, but rather Music Alley would have put in, and Music Alley is not restricted from requesting more than one grant. They could have requested a grant for his services. And the Fall Festival, which is held by the Business Association in town, they could have requested a grant for his services. And likewise, the Black Hat Brewing should have requested a grant for his services. And then that money could have been divided into 3 segments, and they could have decided, you could decide which one, if any, you want to fund. But by looping this in with this, does it mean that you're going to grant $3,000 for him to then go and do 1, 2, 3 events, and then all 3 of those would have to fulfill the same requirement, which is the number of people they would be servicing, the benefit of the need for the community, and then further extension. My 4th of July thing, we pay our sound guy every year out of our own money. I don't grant that. My business actually pays for that. So we do that because I use any grant money for artists and things like that to, stipends and things for people who are doing the actual work. So while it's, I guess my question, my concern, or a misunderstanding or confusion, however I want to word this, is why was he not outright, in other words, when you're going through the list of the grants, how was he still under consideration? Like, why was
because it benefits
dropped?
it benefits the town of Bridgewater and
Okay,
any nonprofits that want his, and he's got to have an accounting of it.
okay,
So I mean, next year he'll have to apply and have them apply on his behalf.
yeah, I think that's probably a better idea. And then, you're also servicing 3 separate entities, whereas on paper, it looks like you're providing service for one.
I thought right away it was a person who was going to take the money and put it into equipment. And as I read it more and more, it made sense. Where does a person who's starting out the past 4 years in Bridgewater, where does he start off? How does he get funding for these shows that can help the nonprofits out? That's all. I'm not doing it on behalf, and Nora, I don't know if I'm the president of Music Alley, so I have to
Hi, how are you?
but I have to abstain from voting on that, but
Right,
we pay him,
Right. right. Well,
so,
it should be. It
yeah,
should be, absolutely, absolutely. So, I guess I was just a little,
it's nice to play devil's advocate, but it's gonna be up to all of
These are-
us to figure out what we pay this guy now that he's
Right,
in.
and these are all
approved.
already approved. They haven't been denied, so we have
No.
to, I understand. Okay. All right, go ahead.
All right, any other comment about any of the grants? Because otherwise we're gonna start going through the ones that are for sure and then go back and divvy out what's left.
Okay.
Any other comments, Svet? Svet, nothing?
Is it still with us?
May I just ask a question?
Sure.
Well, what's the status of the grant for BCC, not BCCR, Music Alley? I just
What's
came
the-
on, so I'm sorry. I
What
just
is the
missed-
status?
Yeah,
Voting on
They've
it.
been approved. We just haven't set a number yet.
okay,
Yeah, anybody who didn't get approved got a denial already. So if you applied and you didn't get a denial, we will be giving you some money. We're determining how much right now. So there are 18 groups that are going to be getting some funding.
Is our goal to unload all of the funds that we have onto these 18 groups?
We don't have to. We can
But-
save, now that Nora's involved, maybe she has some ideas in a program that we as a group want to do.
Well, this is
We
what I'm
can-
looking, this is
we
what I'm
can
looking
use-
for.
We can use 20%, so $4,400 towards our own program.
Mhm.
So if anybody has something in mind, we can hold back that amount as well. I mean, it's not in our agenda, so we really shouldn't be talking about it. That's what we'll do in the next year. Okay, so let's start with the for sure's. Davis Bates, yes, 500?
Yes,
Okay. Are you
Yes.
keeping track, Andy, as we go along?
I will.
Okay,
Okay.
now Bridgewater Brass is 650. Now, is he gonna get some benefit from this music person? Nora, are you
Is that-
involved in the,
Is
I
that
am
July
not
4th?
involved in that committee at all.
That's 4th of July. isn't it?
Yeah, 4th of July, and it's for the parade, they have the antiphonal brass band come out and perform in between, I guess.
do you want to just
performances
give them
and whatnot.
600?
Sure.
Svet, you okay with that?
Tina Svet dropped off, so you might not be able to continue.
It's, well, no, Nora's still on. We have
Oh,
three.
okay.
We
All
have
right,
three.
you have three. All right.
All right,
Nora,
Svet
you okay
dropped
with
off.
just
I am.
600?
Yep, that's fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Juneteenth,
Yes, full
they
funding.
asked for 5,000. Do you want to give them the full amount? Give them 450, 4,000? What do you want to do?
This is Nora. I would vote for full funding.
Okay. I
Andy,
agree.
what about you?
I agree.
Okay, and we will send them a note to next year to try to get funding from the Mass Cultural Council. Okay, One Book, One Community. They're asking for 1750. Any comment?
This is the group that said next year they're gonna go and try to get it from East Bridgewater. Is that correct?
No, they're doing 3 different books a year. So they're gonna be wanting money from us every year.
Every year?
Yeah.
Okay, because it was my understanding that it was gonna be East Bridgewater's turn.
No,
next
East
year.
Bridgewater already did one. This
Oh,
is
did one.
Bridgewater's turn. They used to get funding from the college. That funding
Yes.
has dried up. So now they need another source of funding. This is their first year asking for money.
Okay.
We can cut them off after 3 years. Nora, any comments?
No comments. I would say yes and full funding for them.
Okay, I say 2.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Big Ryan,
What was that, 1750, correct?
1750. Yes, I'm sorry, Andrew, I should be saying these numbers so that you
Yeah.
got the same numbers going in. Okay. Does anybody want to, this is the only program that the Bridgewater Library has gotten involved in this cycle. I
Tina,
looked
did
at previous cycles and they have asked for more than one program. This is the only program.
Hmm.
did you find out, we had a discussion about this, how many times he shows up for that amount?
I believe it's every month.
Okay, so it's around $400 a month? For
No, I think that's 200 a month, right?
200, yeah,
200
200 a
month?
month. Yep.
Okay. I'm
I
for
mean,
it.
we can give them less.
I've seen the show and it has kids and he does a nice
he's
job.
great. He's
Yeah.
And
great,
it's open to everybody. So,
Yes.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So do you want to fully fund it, partially fund it?
Let's fully fund it.
yeah, I agree.
We got 2,400?
2,400, right?
Okay.
Okay, the art class is the next one, 1732. So you want to give them 1,000
I say $1,000.
and then they have to come up with their own money to get the bus.
Yep.
Nora, you okay with that too?
I'm okay with that, sure,
Okay.
agreed.
All right, Carrie Campbell,
I'd say 1,500.
you okay with that, Nora?
No. I'm
You want to give
going,
her, we can't give her nothing. We have to give her at least $5.
um,
Nora, what
sorry,
about what about $1,000?
She did apply
I-
to Rainham. Carrie
could
did
do-
apply to
yeah,
Rainham
I
and got
could do-
denied.
What was the basis for their denial? Do we know?
No.
No,
Okay.
I don't.
I don't know, maybe give her 1,500. Give her
So half the
and
amount?
She'll have
Half
to,
the
yeah.
amount. Yeah.
She
You
can
okay with
do-
that, Andy?
Yep. And then
Okay.
we'll revisit it next year, you know, it's just growing
Yeah,
pains.
Yep,
Okay, chess club, Andy. Can we vote on this, Deborah, with just two of us?
3 of us.
There's 3 of
No,
you.
Andy has to step out.
The
Oh,
chess
no,
club?
sorry, chess club. No, sorry,
No.
so, no.
sorry.
I would give the chess club full funding.
They got
it's open to
2,000
everybody.
last year.
Yep, and they run a tremendous community program, inviting everyone to come in, all ages. And
It's a year-round
Yeah.
club too.
Yeah.
They library during the season, then they,
All in favor of fully funding 2,000?
yep.
yep,
Okay,
yes,
now we're at Music Alley, so Andy has to step away.
okay,
Dawn, Nora and I can vote, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Music Alley wants $5,000. Some of this may be coming from the tech guy. So why don't we do 4,000 and let the tech guy give him $1,000 worth of help? Because we got to give the tech guy something since we didn't deny him.
yeah.
And we'll tell him it's for the Music Alley.
Yeah, well, I think that Music Alley is one of the biggest programs that runs in this town consistently.
Right?
And it brings in new music from all sorts of areas. It greatly expands the musical.
Okay, so you want to fully
with-
fund,
I
and then
would
what do you want to
fully
do about the
fund-
tech guy?
Yeah, and I would maybe half fund the tech guy.
Okay, so
Okay.
5,000 for Music Alley.
Okay.
Francis Hart, 350 Senior Center. Full amount, 350?
Yep,
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
now here's the tech guy. If we give him 1,000, how are we doing, Andy, on getting us down to the 4,360 we have to reduce?
I'll have to figure that out as we go along.
We've really only cut back on 1,500 for Carrie Campbell, 732 for the high school, and 50 for the brass.
Yeah, so I'll have to add them up and go down the line. I have no
Yeah.
idea.
All right, let's
who
hold the
done it.
tech guy for the end then.
okay,
Okay, Senior Center, what's the folk rock? 550.
And that's for a duo. It's not one person, so I would fully fund that.
Nora?
so I'm fine with that.
Okay, Old Bridgewater Historical, 200.
Yep.
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 The
definitely.
musical. Do you want to just give them 1,500, 1,000?
I would say 1,200, half,
That'd be 1,250.
1,250, yeah.
Laura?
That's what I would say. It goes back to the schools again.
Nora?
Yep. Yeah, we can start there and see if we need to cut it, if we need to cut further.
Okay. Tom Rule said that he would get 200 from the Senior Center and he wanted 400 total, so we could give him 200.
200, okay.
Sound good, Nora?
Yep,
Yep.
agreed.
Okay, the Sped Art, 500. Now, my issue with this, I actually called the people, and anybody can go to the website where this art is on display.
Right,
So even though it's a very niche group of people, that art is available to see online.
Mhm.
So fully fund,
What's the
Hmm,
grant number again? Which grant? number?
39.
39.
Special needs.
All right. And this is open for anyone to be able to go
No,
and
it's
check out,
designed
or?
specifically for special ed students to put their art onto a website.
Okay, I would fully fund that.
Andrew, you agree?
Same.
Okay,
And I would
and
put- Go ahead.
Talking Books is the next one. That is also available for the blind.
I'd fully fund that as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we have the dancer. Do you want to just do 1,000 for her since we're not
Yeah,
real sure about where she's performing?
yes, let's do 1,000 this year.
And in the letter to her, then we'll be very specific. Okay, so Andy, can you add up what we spent?
Yep,
We only have one outstanding, and we'll see how much we have left to give him.
Excuse me.
200. $24,350. Let me go over the numbers with everybody so we're all on the same page.
Okay,
All right, 500 for Davis Bates.
Mm.
600 for the brass.
Yeah.
5,000 for Juneteenth.
Yeah.
One book, 1750.
yeah,
Public Library, Big Ryan, 2,400. 1,000 for the BR. High School Press,
mhm,
Kerry Campbell, 1,500. 5,000 for Music Alley.
You forgot Chess Club.
Oh, I get that further down.
Yeah.
Okay.
The chess club, we got the chess club at 2,000.
We added them later, right?
Yeah, I added them later. That's, I'll go to that. I'll just tell you what I have and then we can, you'll bounce around a little bit. I was just going by a different list, so.
Yeah.
By the 16 plus the other two. And then we got 350 for Francis Hart. 550 for Howard Newman. 200 for Old Colony Historical. 1,250 for the Raynham Players. 500 for Special Needs. 500 for Talking Information. The Dancer 1,000, Chess Club 2,000, and 200 for Thomas Rule. So that gives us 24,350.
All right, so we can fund the tech guy or increase one of these other grants if we want to.
I'd like to fund the tech guy, and we could.
Fully or partially?
It puts me in a spot. I don't want to, we need to fund them, but I don't want to call the number out because we hire them for music. Alley.
Okay, Nora, Nora doesn't want to fund him at all, so.
yeah, that's just me, but, how about, I mean,
Half,
yeah, let's do, we could do two, can we do two?
suits
'Cause-
fine.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
because you
agree
got
with
the
that.
other two events and that kind of, yeah, we'll just.
And then what we'll do is revisit it.
Yeah,
Okay, so that brings us up to 26,350.
All right, which is almost our limit, so why don't we just leave it at that?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
Everyone, all an acceptance of all of that?
I am.
yep. I
Nora,
am.
okay,
Yep.
Thanks for an easy meeting.
all right, well, no, have you looked at the agenda?
I have. It's an easy meeting.
This was the easy part. Okay, so the grant money
Alright.
decisions are done.
Yeah,
Nora, I was planning to send the letters by email, but if you want to take it over,
I'd be happy to do that for you, and I can do that on Saturday.
Nora,
we're not
Yes.
doing physical letters, Nora,
I
is that
know.
okay?
I know, emails, right? We just do emails out to
Okay,
all these individuals?
But
Yeah,
each email has to include attachments.
yes,
One of them is called the final report.
mm-hmm,
They have to complete that before, well, they don't have to, they have to complete it within 2 weeks of the event ending.
okay,
And then the other thing is you need to include a W-9 that they
Yep.
have to fill out and provide to the town hall.
sure,
And the interesting thing is these folks have to come and get their money within 2 weeks.
okay,
2 weeks of receiving that email.
Yeah.
With the W-9 and then the form that 2 of us have to sign. It's called a
Okay.
local cultural council program grant agreement.
yep,
So they have to fill it out and 2 of us have to sign it. Then it goes with the W-9 to the town hall. They get their money and then we
Mhm.
wait for them to give us a final report to tell us how they spent their money.
okay.
In that final report, is there any other additional information we want them to include? Like, I would like to know the attendance, where it was located.
the time they did it.
What
Yeah,
was that, Andy?
the time when they did it. so
Right,
we
right.
know. Yeah,
And I would also love to get some reviews.
Yeah.
Which I've never heard of anyone asking for that before, but I think it would be really helpful for like the senior center director to say, you know, what the reaction to this person was, because we're not going to always grant people if we don't get good vibes back. Do you agree?
that's it. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and they
Nora,
used to
has
do
that
that.
been done before?
It has. They used to do it when they would submit the request for the funding for the next year. They would provide a letter of support, and places like the senior center would provide how many people attended and individual little comments from people, oh, it was a great time, sometimes photographs of the event that occurred. So that's always helpful as well, because we can use that to put on a website and show what the cultural council has actually been up to and what it is we actually fund.
Okay.
And then that can also encourage other people to come forth and request funding if they come up with ideas.
Deborah, I have a question for you. If they don't come and get their money within 2 weeks, 14, 15 days, does the money revert back to us?
Sorry, I lost my microphone. I don't believe so. I mean, I think they'll hold it.
For
I-
how
I-
long though?
I don't think they'll hold it for that. I think you probably give them a specific period of time. You can say
It's
30
14
days.
days. According to the
it's 14 days.
MCC website, it's 14 days.
Well, you could put that on it, then it would revert back.
Yeah. We
Okay,
did
so
that-
Nora, you'll adjust have you seen the template online, Nora?
Yep,
Okay.
I have.
So
And
you can
the-
adjust it for our requests here.
Yep, and in the olden days, back at the beginning of time, the money reverted used to go back into the funds for the following year, so
Yeah.
we could re-grant
Mhm.
those funds as well.
Right, that's what we ended up doing this year. We
yeah.
got 22 from the state, but had it leftover money from previous years.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it probably acts in the same way, and I'll do a little more reading. I'm trying to catch up on all the new things. So, but yeah, it's pretty good. And then usually, I think from some of the names I saw on the list, those people are people that are going to do these programs and actually request their funding. So I don't expect you're going to see a lot of falling by the wayside kind of
We
thing.
had a couple this past year.
Yeah.
A couple big ones.
They had to be
Uh-oh.
chased down. Yes, they had to be chased
Uh-oh.
down. But one of them was a guy who'd never done it before. He thought he needed to submit his receipts.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's
they
the
used to.
difference is we provide the grants up front,
Yeah, it used to be a horror show with paper receipts and everything. It was crazy.
right?
So this is much
Okay,
easier.
so what will happen is Nora will send out the acceptance letters, tell
Okay.
people what their money is.
Mhm,
They need to come in with the letter and the W-9, and then
mhm.
2 of us need to get together and look at their grant agreement and
Mhm.
sign it before they can get paid by the town.
Right.
Yep.
So David, you have a question?
Two things. One, on the application, I asked you how many people you expect attending, just to let you know that. So in the application, I thought I had to fill out,
Right,
Who's
we're
gonna-
asking you in your final report.
okay,
So after your event happens, we want you to report what actually did happen.
okay. Second thing, because the thing that you just mentioned last, we have to go ahead and get this done within 14 days of the letter going out, seems new. So I would suggest in your acceptance letter, making a point of the fact that we have a new condition. You have to do this within 14 days.
What they're doing is basically doing a simple grant application, way simpler than the actual application, and turning in their W-9. That's all that's involved.
But the timing is different. So
Right. Let
Right,
them
but they
know.
don't
I
have to
know.
do their program. They don't have to get support letters or anything yet.
Yeah,
This is
no, I
just to get the money
I
granted to them.
understand. I happen to be here at the meeting, and so I know about it, but I think it would be good for the other grantees to be told in their acceptance letter, this is new, pay attention.
Okay, so Nora, you
absolutely.
taking that note?
Yep, I've got it right here
It's fine.
to remind them.
Okay.
Yep.
And then we do have the right to deny any further grant acceptances in the future if they don't complete that final report.
Right,
And the final report doesn't have to be turned into us until the program is done. So somebody may not be doing something until next fall.
exactly.
Yeah, hopefully they get it done before the grant cycle.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion about things that were on the agenda for new business?
Nope.
No, no.
Okay, so in old business is the 21-22 annual report. At the time I put up this agenda, I didn't know if I was still stuck doing that, but I passed the baton to Mary Lee.
Okay,
Yeah. So is Dawn still on? Or Deborah? Sorry, Deborah.
Deborah.
Yep, I'm
Deborah-
here the whole meeting.
Did anybody agree to sign off on those two reports? Mary Lee wanted me to, and I'm like, I was not involved. I do not feel comfortable having anyone come to me and say, why did I get denied or accepted or whatever?
No one that I'm aware of came to anybody. So but I can follow up tomorrow with Michael.
I mean, Mary Lee, I'm not involved anymore. Mary Lee
Okay.
was the one, she wanted me to sign off, and I'm like, nope, not doing it.
All right, I will check with her tomorrow to see if make sure they're all set.
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
great. Oh, I do have it on the agenda. B, about whether we want to do a program next year. Nora, any ideas of things that when you were involved in the council before that you wished that we had somebody doing?
Frankly, people have stepped up and done them, things like the Music Alley. The only thing that had been discussed during my tenure was putting on a community art show, which was determined to be done at the, on the common
Autumn
area.
Fest is one or something.
Yeah, but we couldn't get anything strictly, in other words, like a school-wide, local talent-wide art show. So that was,
Well,
done
put that
by-
on the back burner. Be thinking
Yeah.
about that through the summer.
Yep, and
And-
there's other ways you can also, the money that if we have money set aside, you can also choose to use that money to fund something that you might not have already. In other words, if we decided not to fund something this year, and they came back next year, you can also use that as your project. We will fund this particular project. So,
I mean, it's the same thing as carryover of the money.
yeah, but it's a little more, in other words, we would actually be supporting and almost partnering with an organization to be.
Before
able
they
to do
even
that.
wrote the grant.
So,
Okay.
sometimes that helps people to get over the hump of, that it's very complicated and difficult for people to get these things put together.
Right.
Sometimes
If they know
helping.
there's yeah, they know they're going to get it by the end.
Yep, absolutely. And
Okay.
then just outreach, I think the cultural council, I know there were half-hearted efforts, and I'm just saying that on my tenure. We did a Facebook page that had some activity. We did a little bit.
Well, you
here
did a
and
good
there.
job, Nora, because we had $60,000 worth of grants requested.
Well, great. Well, we went down like election day, we put a table down there and we're handing out informational stuff to people on election day.
So you're
Um,
talking in April?
Yep, and then at the Business Association, I have a table there, but I never use it. So a couple of years I went down and brought cultural council stuff down for volunteers and also for people, basically, hey, we got free money you can have.
Andrew, do you feel that
so-
we need to advertise ourselves, or do you feel like enough people know about us and the money is going where it needs to go?
I think there's enough. I think the money's going where it needs to go. If we start advertising when I have 18 times as many applicants from out of town.
All right, so that's back on.
Yeah.
I
the thing
think
is,
if we
yeah.
focus on in town.
Yep.
Right, but I understand what Nora's talking about. If people don't know who we are, I don't know. Do we want to do that by April? That's pretty quick. We need to get something together
Yeah,
to have available at the elections.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a table, print out some, some forms for how you fill out a grant application. And that way there are a number of organizations and groups and people that do things that don't ever believe that they're entitled to any support. And the reason they're not actually expanding and enlarging on what they want to do is because they don't have the support. So it's, someone comes up with an idea and says, oh, I'd like to do a thing where kids could come and paint sun catchers or something. Well, that would be wonderful, but you don't have a place and you don't, so come talk to us and we can kind of give you a guidance on how you can do that. And then you give us, you figure out how much it would cost for supplies. We'll get you a day, we'll help you get you a place and you can get it done. So that was one of the things that we did a lot of, was trying to encourage and promote Bridgewater residents. So I'll
So
just
Nora,
throw
would you
in
refer to that as being outreach?
outreach,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I will tell you
Okay.
this,
So can we
for the-
nominate Nora to be the chairman of the outreach?
let's nominate Nora to be the secretary first. We've got a chair, we've got
She's secretary. She said she'd do the letters. All in
Excellent.
favor?
aye.
You know
Svets,
that-
just say aye.
Aye,
Hey,
all right,
guys,
fine, I'll take
I
it,
had to
whatever.
I had to step out for a moment. I apologize.
All right, so, just one thing I need to tell you is that, this 4th of July thing I do every year. Every single year, we do an art show there. And we only had 3 people from Bridgewater enter the board. We had people from Shrewsbury, we had people from Brockton, we had people from Rainham, Taunton, Somerset, and yet we only had a few. And every year I went to the school system and dropped off information and have yet to have anyone from the school system come back and say, hey, we could do an art show. Because I would give them space and all that. So that's
So
what I
Nora, when
mean.
you send,
No one knows how to connect the dots.
Nora, when you send your award letter
Yeah.
to, I'm forgetting her first name, Mrs. Wood, Shirley Wood,
Yeah.
mention that.
Okay,
Feel free to personalize these letters.
okay. 'Cause
So
we can-
mention to her that you
yeah.
would like to have her art students, provide stuff at that thing.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay,
But anyway.
sounds
okay,
good.
All right, so back to.
All right,
topic.
so the next thing on our agenda is the use of the town hall. Did you guys know that report actually happened? It was
No.
referred to in the 2019 or 2020 Cultural Council that they'd gotten a $30,000 grant from the Mass Cultural Council for a feasibility study.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I'm like, what? I never heard about this. And sure
Yeah.
enough, Hanoka assured me that yes, Bridgewater got a $30,000 grant for a feasibility study. And then I
Wow.
found out Mary Lee has it.
Yeah,
Okay,
So they've got a document telling us how to use it, but it's going to cost gazillions of dollars to fix it,
Yeah.
to make it to be something we can actually utilize.
well,
Right.
that's preservation trust money that can be used on that.
Right, but we had the Mass Cultural Council pay for the feasibility study.
Yes, it was $30,000, I believe.
Yes, so it does exist. If anybody wants to see it, it's available on, I think I might have sent it to the committee,
Yeah,
the link. Did you look at it, Svet, at all?
I haven't had a chance to see it.
Yeah. Anyway,
I
so
haven't
that
I
is
will look
something,
into it.
something that we should talk about.
yeah,
Mhm.
trying to encourage the use of that space.
Yes.
Definitely.
Building. Beautiful building.
All right, on to the next agenda thing. We've already been talking about this a little bit about the criteria for the next grant cycle. We can
Mhm.
save that for another meeting after
Yeah.
the dust settles from these the stuff we're doing right now.
Okay.
You all agree we should wait on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then one of the things that it does say for the Bridgewater Cultural Council is we can limit them to 3 years in a row. Do we
Right.
want to impose that? Do we want to think about that?
Yeah, I would say so. It makes sense. So we
But
can
then
give a
that means
chance to
people like
others.
the Chess Club and Music Alley and Juneteenth are gonna, well, Juneteenth, we're telling to do the festivals.
Yeah.
But that's not gonna fully grant them.
Yeah,
Rebecca, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind you that earlier, if I understood correctly, Nora had said that we could apply anybody, not just Juneteenth, both for the festival and for the Bridgewater Cultural Council grant. You had
Absolutely.
indicated that the festival grant is 2,500. So
yes,
for example, this year, that would not have been enough funding for
No.
us.
Correct. But we
Considering,
as-
we know that we wouldn't necessarily get full funding from you, but the full funding helps. So I just wanted
Right.
to be sure
Right,
that.
but
I'm
according
understanding
to the
correctly.
criteria, as it is written right now,
right,
we have the ability to say, we funded you 3 years in a row. You need to go find
Right,
someplace
right.
else.
Right, I
So-
understand that. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the fact that you suggested that we apply to the festival next year and that there is the potential currently, I understand you're discussing a change, to continue funding after 3 years. And I know that a lot of organizations, for example, Music Alley, have been funded many, many years in a row. So I just
Right.
wanted to be sure that I was understanding correctly.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. We need to probably review our criteria.
Got
David,
it.
do you have,
Thank you.
I
David,
would,
do you have a question?
oh, I'm sorry, this is Nora. I just, on the limiting a group to 3 years, the way I've always considered this is this a program that is, first, for the benefit of Bridgewater, 1. 2, is it a program that we already have, like, we have 3 other options for the same thing? If we don't, then to withhold funding based on just a numeric thing. And that may be where we would want to consider providing support with our discretionary money, to say, well, we're gonna support this particular topic this year or this particular funding because, they're kind of aging out in the system a little bit. We've been supporting them over and over and over. And we, based upon stuff that is held strictly by Bridgewater residents for Bridgewater residents, it's really a smaller list when you think about it.
But I
you know,
think that the Mass Cultural Council is
Mhm.
trying to discourage
Mhm.
groups from depending 100% on
On
the
us.
Cultural Council to fund them.
Mhm.
They're trying to encourage them to look for additional sources of funding.
And
That's
so-
why the cutoff was suggested.
And some of them are. I mean, if you look at the Juneteenth, they were looking, their total budget was 7,500, we gave them 5.
Yep,
And Music Alley is over 20,000 now, and we gave them 5.
Yeah.
So it's anything that can benefit the town, we shouldn't just drop.
right. Exactly.
We
And
can
I
give
think
them
that-
less money if we feel that we've
Yeah.
been giving them too much money, that's fine, but you'll discourage these people and then they'll just say the hell with it.
Right.
Then we'll find twice as many applicants that are out of town that aren't gonna benefit the town. Look at.
So
all-
your interpretation of the 3-year rule is the 100% funding would be
No,
cut
my
back.
interpretation is we shouldn't have a 3-year rule.
No, the
I agree.
existing rule right now is
Yeah.
there is a 3-year limit, but you could interpret that to say that, okay, you're getting half your funding from
Yes,
something else, and we're doing the other half.
The other
and so
half,
we can keep
exactly.
going.
if we know, if our civic organizations in town know there's another avenue of getting more money, then it'll free up some of the money that we have in our coffers. The problem I have, and Nora, I don't know if this happened to you folks,
Mhm.
but I discussed this with Tina. If we have an overage in our accounts
Mhm.
of say $5,000,
Yeah.
the state could look at it and say, well, you know what, you didn't spend the money, so we're gonna give you less this year. We have
I don't
Exactly.
think we're ever
control.
gonna have that issue.
No, we'll never
No,
have
but we
that
have no
problem.
control.
The only problem will be is if someone doesn't come and get their money within 2
Yeah.
weeks.
Yep,
And so when you have valid programs that are being run for the town, and they're not programs that would be run by the town itself or by another entity such as, a government entity, then I think it's, if whoever wants to apply for money should be allowed to apply for money. And then it's up for us to decide if,
Correct.
hey,
Yeah.
listen, so
Right,
and so,
but-
you come back every year, come on, help us out a little. But I
But when
think
we
that-
do the denials, we have to give them a reason.
Yeah, so I think just having that, I mean, keeping in mind, and for some individuals, they'd look at it and say, okay, 3 years, 4 years, whatever. I don't know if we need to put a number on it, because we have to base the quality of the program, the number of people it's reaching. If it's an actual draw and an appeal to the actual, is it benefiting the town as far as, hey, look what they got going on in Bridgewater, kind of a thing. And if we can show off our best side with the best programs that we can put forward, I think it makes a huge difference for the money. The money is there to be spent. And, I don't like to see it being spent on something from somebody from Mansfield that's gonna come in and do a half-hour puppet show and they want $1,000.
yeah,
And only 5 people are gonna go. But if we're gonna do something that's gonna, make a difference in this town and draw people together and get people to come out of their houses and get off Facebook for 5 freaking minutes. I think we're,
tell us
I
how you
think
really
we're-
feel about
Yeah.
it.
don't ever ask a question if you don't want to answer with me.
Right.
But
No,
yeah,
it's
I think that, so the 3 years, it is, all of those guidelines are there. But the way that I've always interpreted those guidelines are this. I'm sorry that we've sponsored this same program 3 years in a row, but it's a program that works. It has incredible benefit to the community, and we can
Yeah.
show you the benefit. And as long as you can back it up with the benefit of what it is having and what's going on with it, then they can't argue with that. If you just rubber stamp stuff left and right, then it's a different story. And I don't think the Cultural Council has ever done that, because everybody that's on this wants to make a difference. So I will stop. Don't get me on
Alrighty,
the
well,
soapbox, you know?
we'll have a meeting at some point before we create our criteria for next
Okay.
year.
Okay.
And it sounds like we may need to meet if we want to do something for the town. Hey, Deborah, how many people are actually voting in person now versus doing advanced or absentee or whatever you call it, mail-in? Because I don't know if it's worth it to have the manpower to be at a table at the elections if very few people show up.
Well, this past, 3 weeks ago, I think 1% of the voters showed up, so a little under 1,000. April, it's hard to tell, but I don't think it's more than 1 to 2% of the population. If
Yeah.
it was a presidential election, I would say you'd get a ton of people.
Right, which won't be happening this year.
Right.
Are we allowed to leave stuff there? And if we left stuff there, does it have to be approved by the town?
I can ask Mara Lee for you
Okay,
if papers can be left there. I'm not sure. I have never seen like the Girl Scouts or anything selling cookies or anybody having bake sales in there. So I would have to ask Mara Lee for you.
well, I think what I would like to see, maybe Nora wants to
Yeah.
stay there all day, is to just have pamphlets available saying,
Yeah.
interested in writing a grant. Andy?
Yeah, we have the opportunity as well. I'm sure that the Rebecca would invite us to maybe have a table at Juneteenth. You're welcome to have a table during Music Alley. We draw
Yeah.
300 to 400 people
Yeah.
on some busy nights in the center of town, just to make people aware of where some of the money's coming from. On our posters, we put, the Cultural Council's logo on it.
You have to, or we'll
Yeah.
not fund you anymore, Andy.
Well, no, I'm talking about
That's
these
very
other-
clear in the
these
write-up.
these
They have to put
folks
that on
that
the-
come to the folks that's one of the criteria. We should have them send a PDF of their poster with the logo on it.
Yes, I
Right.
agree with Andy. I think
Yeah.
we need to
But I
ourselves.
think some of these events that we fund, they'd be more than happy to have us come and just put a table up and say, look at, this is what we do.
Exactly.
Rebecca?
Yes, we would love to have you at Juneteenth, and if someone can provide, Deborah, I'm going to send Deborah my email address. If someone could provide me with contact information, we actually have a form that we need you to fill out. Nonprofits are free, but we have a whole protocol that we're doing. So the nonprofits do need to fill out a form. And if you can send me that form, then we would love to have you at our event. Thank you.
Rebecca,
All right, Nora, you're in charge of that one.
Okay.
Rebecca, are you able to have us in the book?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And it's not, is it something we have to pay for? Or is it just
She
part
said
of?
non-
You know what? I don't want to take up too much time in your meeting with this, but if somebody can contact me, I'll provide my name and phone number, and then I can
Yeah.
give you all the information. Is that okay?
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right, so the last thing on the old business was about the festival and grant, project grant, which we've talked to. So hopefully the July 4th and the Juneteenth people will take advantage of that.
Mhm.
And the last thing is, Nora, if you would like, I'll go to Smart Simple and plug in the amounts of monies we've approved and submit that so that everyone gets that posted. It's supposed to be available to the public.
Okay.
And then when you're doing the letters, you can
Yep.
refer to that.
Very good. That way,
In case
that's
you-
perfect. Okay,
That way you don't have to worry about writing all the specific numbers down.
okay, perfect.
Okay, any other comments? Thank you all for attending and congratulations to those of you that got your grants. All right, this meeting is adjourned. It
You need a
is-
motion in a second.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Could I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Yvette, you want a second?
Yes.
Okay,
And then a vote.
all in favor of ending this meeting?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Okay, very good. Thank you.
You're all
Oh,
set.
you know what? We
Yep.
need to set up another meeting. Shoot.
Okay, all right.
Jessica can't do Wednesdays, don't forget. Do you want me to just send out an email asking for availability?
I already know what she's available.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
She responded to me finally. I can't do Mondays, so Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday are her days. Yvette, what is your schedule like?
I mean, it changes right now, but in general, Sunday and Monday, I'm off from work. I'm supposed to be off from work, but again, I'll flex, and if I can't, I'll join from work just as tonight.
I can
Okay,
do,
Andy?
I just want to take some time to
Mondays
take
and
a look at that.
Tuesdays work good for me,
I can do
and
any weeknight.
Wednesdays.
Yeah, I can do.
All
any
right, let's shoot
weeknight.
for Tuesday.
Yeah.
When is Nora, do you feel the need that we should get together before the potential election pamphlet creation?
No, we can do a quick email, just a general, like an organizational email to see if who's available to go and who would want to go. I don't know if we need to go through a full official meeting for that.
Just
Okay.
a reminder, you can't talk to each other about things on an email.
Oh, okay. Thank
Well,
you.
no,
Thank you. Deborah.
So we have to have a formal meeting to create our criteria for next year?
Yes,
It's gonna be
Okay.
public.
it has to be posted. So you can't go
Okay.
back and forth on email talking to each other about any type of subject.
Okay.
It has to be done in open meeting.
All right,
Okay.
so is anybody okay with waiting till May 2nd?
That's fine.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
fine with me as well.
Tuesday,
Yep,
Tuesday,
that's
May
fine.
2nd.
Tuesday, May 2nd. And does 6 o'clock work for everyone?
Yep.
Yeah,
Way we get it all done and I have a question, Deb. How long do
Yep.
we have to stay on Zoom?
I believe they're talking about going back in person.
Ooh,
I
Okay,
know the
'cause I have-
finance, yep.
I have a friend who wants to join the council, but she doesn't really want to do Zoom.
I believe they're talking by May, they may be back in person. So it would be at
Okay.
the town hall.
okay.
Okay, so May 2nd is either Zoom or in person.
And Josh is back on Monday, so he will back to be your person.
Liaison person? Okay,
Yep, liaison person.
right. Any other comments from anyone?
No, nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
everyone, for
looking
your
forward
hard
to
work.
working with all of you again this year, so. I'll get a report out to, for the with the next couple days of the funding that we approved.
Well, no, I'll put it on the
Oh,
Smart
you're gonna
Simple.
put it, okay, you have it all
I'll
too?
take care of it on Smart Simple. I'll do it right now. And then
Fine.
you guys can check it. And if I messed up, then well. So I have to send Hanoka a comment, I have to let her know about the 2 that were reconsidered. And she'll have to put those in manually. So you won't
Okay.
see those right away.
Okay, all right. And I'll
Okay?
wait, make sure they're in there before I start.
Are we
Okay.
allowed to let people know what they got, or do we have to wait for a report to come out and everybody's gonna be notified at the same time?
Deborah, what's your answer to that?
Just a reminder that the meeting, you already adjourned the meeting.
Adjourned.
Yep. All right.
All right.
All
Good
right.
night.
Bye,
All right,
guys.
everyone, have a good night.
Bye.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.